Right then, hello again everybody. So on to another video. You can see we're going to start putting the bubbles on the front. Now I'm sure that this is the future for fitting bubble arches, but I do intend to weld it on just in case anybody's concerned. My last video caused a little bit of controversy with the suggestion that I was going to roller the car. Don't worry, don't panic, I will get it sprayed properly. Either I'll learn to spray myself with a decent finish, or I'll stump up and get the final finish done at a proper spray shop. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but we are miles off that, so don't panic. I think 1 or 2 subscribers even left over that. Hey ho, that was just an experiment to see what happened. So don't worry, rest assured the Escort will be looked after. I've put a lot of time and effort and cash into this car, so it won't be looking like a pig's ear when I'm finished with it, so don't panic. Okay, that's it. On to this subject now. We're fitting the arches. So Express Panels again have supplied the arches for these. When I say supplied, I did pay for them. They haven't sponsored me, not yet at least. Come on, get the sponsorship going. Good boys. It's a nice panel, nice finish on the edge. The outer edges are rough, but from what I can see, most of this will be cut off anyway. So I'll probably be cutting off a good 2 inches of this panel to get it to where it's a panel which is usable. So that's not too much of a worry. So I imagine we're going to be looking at sort of somewheres around here to hack off. Probably keep that bit on there because I need that bit, and obviously all this will be cut off at the bottom as well. The same around here. It'll probably be maybe a bit more over this side because there's a swage here I want to keep, so maybe spread this out over there somewheres, and then take it off down here somewheres, like so. So I'll do that first. I'll cut that out. I'll get the jigsaw on that, cut that out, and then I'll DA this up with some 180 grit or whatever I've got in the DA, clean it off and give it a coat of primer, well through primer on both sides, and then we'll start, once that's set off, we'll start fitting it to the wing. I won't bother filming that because that's quite a boring thing to watch, so I'll cut off that line there now, clean it up, paint it, then we'll come back for when I'm ready to start fitting it. That's that been cleaned back, sanded off, and then given a couple of coats of Halford's finest weld through primer, which we all know is the stuff I love, in between each. So I've cleaned it off with a 120 grit DA, and then panel wiped in between each time to make sure it's nice and clean. Use jigsaw to cut the excess off, which is up there. And now we're ready, once that goes off, to start sizing it up for the front wing. Now I left this bit on thinking that I could use it to line up with that, but it does bring the wing quite far forward. Get the wheel centered there. It does bring the wing sitting forward compared to where the wheel is sitting. Now, I suspect that's on purpose because the competition cars will run the suspension further forward because it helps with the turning apparently, but I intend to be keeping this on fairly standard suspension, so I may cut that bit off and just position the wing back a little bit to centre it up on the wheel. But we'll see how we get on. While that's going off, I'm going to go and have a cup of coffee. And we have our usual bank holiday Welsh weather going on here. Right, the other thing I promised I would try is some flux core wire. I have got some. So we'll have a go at setting this up in the welder now and see whether I seem to remember it will run flux core wire, so I should have checked that before I paid out and bought some, but there we go. Let's see if we can set that up now. Now when I built my trolley, I built it the wrong way around, so it made life difficult for myself. So when I have to change wire, I've got to hoik the thing apart. So in here, you've got positive and negative terminal to swap over. And swap them around. I believe that's all we need to do for flux core. Of course, leave the gas turned off. Right, let's wheel this back. There we go. Right, let's get a couple of bits of scrap and see how that looks like. Right, let's see how we get on with a couple of bits of the wing that we cut off. Just to see what it welds like. So I just had a play with it, and it's surprisingly distortion free, to be honest. I just whacked down through that, and although it looks terrible and porous, grinds up alright. There's a couple of dots there which I just go back over again, and penetration is reasonably okay. There's a couple of spots there which I could probably redo, and it is a nice shallow weld as well. Like somebody said, I'll have to remember who. I try to remember the name. If I find it, I'll put the name up on the screen as to who suggested this. Somebody who works in a body shop anyway. So I think I will give this a whirl on this arch. And so we do the cut and butt and the dab and grind, and using this, and we'll see how we get on. We might be onto something here again now. Let's see about getting the wing lined up to some fashion. So that's where it says it's got to go, according to the that pib nib there, which is sort of there. And actually that looks okay. When I first tried it, the wheel was turned back a bit, so I think that was throwing me off a touch. So that's not actually too bad there. So what I think I'll do first is drill a hole through that and bolt it into there, and then that'll line us up on the front bit. And we've got a swage line there that we need to get right, close enough. Yes, I think that's what I'll do. Get a drill a hole there, bolt that through loosely, and then we can work around it. Right, let's do that. Just like that. And that'll do us. Just so we can line things up and get a feel for it. Because what I'll do is I'll get this on, scribe it around, then cut back. So we've got an inch or so to play with. Alright, let's get a tack screw through there, I think. Next. The swage line is good over there, but with that bolted in there, that swage line which is there is not lining up there, which means the wing is on a slight downward tilt. Which I can't really see looking at it like that, but I'll do it, undo the bolt and twist it up to see what we got. About there. Well, it's not very defined on there, to be fair. By the time we cut and butt it out, it'll probably be gone anyway. But let's see where we are at. And according to that swage line, we should be about there, which does line the wing up straighter. But that's all off, all over the place there. So what I think I will do is go back to plan A and cut this off down here somewhere. This thing's okay around that front there, so we can got plenty to play with. You don't have to go all that down the front there. We can even come around here somewhere. Okay, so I think the tech screw in there next will be the way forward. Right, let's get a scribe around there and cut the worst of that wing out. Otherwise we're going to be we're constantly in our own way here. Okay, so we've got a, I don't know if you can see whether we've got a scribe line around there now. So I want to come about 1 inch down from that. Right, let's get a jigsaw on that then. And that's how you mess up a perfectly useless wing. Right, anybody want a spare arch for the wing, for the MK1 Escort? Let's see what that looks like. I think around the front here is going to be a challenge, I'm going to say. I'll hack that bit off next. Straight down here somewhere to get that out of the way and then see where we're at. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, definitely around there is going to be a challenge. Get that to look nice. Right, I think we'll get some more tech screws in this and then start the cut and butt. Oh, clean up behind there first. Let's do that first. We'll use our poly strip discs for that. Because these are good at taking off paint and leaving the metal behind, which is just what we want. We don't want to be thinning that out any more than we have to. Lovely, right. That's got the front of the wing lining up now with the front panel. Sort of. Hang on, try it again. Good. Now's the time to get this right. Why we got a bit of flex in the wing. Right, okay, that's much better. Right, I think we'll come back to that bit. I think that's going to cause us some trouble over that end, so we'll worry about that later on. Let's work on the bits we can control first, and then worry about the bits that are going to give us trouble later. Lovely. Right, I think we'll start cutting in, butting into place as best we can. Righto, that's our first set of tacks all in place, and we're nice and tight to the panel. And you can see these tacks are, you can get a close up on this one, you can see how nice and small they are. I do quite like that aspect of it, I've got to say. So we're ready for the cut and butt. So what I think I'll do, I'll start down the bottom here and work our way all the way around. Right, well that's the first bit done. Cutting the cut and the butt. We'll worry about the front bit later on. And I must say, the gasless wire does seem better, if I'm honest. Again, skeptical about it, but that's quite small little neat welds and they're penetrating very nicely. So interesting to see what'll happen now with the dab and grind welding. So let's crack on with that then. That's looking good. That's a much smaller weld. Let's crack on with a bit more then. I quite like this, I've got to say. Oh yeah, we're definitely on to something here. That's taking so much less grinding to get it off. Look how small those welds are. And they're penetrating really nicely. The only downside I see is that they do need touching up here and there, but it's such a small weld, that's a small price to pay. So yeah, I like this process. I think I'll adopt this again, so it's something new learned again. So gasless wire is the way forward. And the reason for that, apparently, according to the gent who suggested it, whose name I'll have to look up, and thank you, you know who you are, I really appreciate you suggesting this, because this is a great idea. The gasless wire is much smaller than even a 0.6 wire, so you're probably looking on aggregate probably a 0.3 or 0.4 wire at the most, because it's just an outer wire with an inner core of flux. So you can make a much smaller weld with a much smaller amount of energy, and it does the same job. So happy days. Right, don't know if that's going to come up on the camera, but we've got a bit of sinkage going on here now, so I'm going to get the start planishing this out and see if we can correct that now. Because one of the advantages of welding like this, the dab, is it's softer, so we should be able to work on it. Let's see what we can do. Lovely jubbly. We are back on track. So yeah, that's good news. So let's brought that back up again. Right, so crack on. I think that's as far as I want to go with that for today. Getting on a bit. Like I said, I'm going to work out what I'm going to do down in that corner yet. There's going to be a bit of work involved with getting that straight raised. But I'm quite happy with the gasless wire. That's worked quite well. And you can see down the wing there, it's all quite straight still. So that's it's quite nice that. So just going to chuck some Halford's primer at it, and then in the morning I shall come back to working on that bit over there. While that's still wet, you can get a feel for what it looks like as far as distortion goes. So there's always going to be a little bit in there, but that's not too bad. I've certainly done a lot worse with welding in the past, and I've yet to work on this properly because I've only just bolted this wing on for now with tech screws, so I can take this wing off and get behind all of that to give that a good planishing out as well. Righto, it's the next day and we're going to have a look at sorting out this front here. So this is a few challenges here. We've got this to come around here without losing the bubble, and somehow to line this lot up underneath here. It's all a bit of a mishmash. So what I think I'm going to start off by doing is see if I can cut around this and sort of hammer form that around there somewhere, and then cut and butt our way down around here and see where we end up down here. Now this does look like it's a little bit tall, but I line this up with a swage line up there, and so that will keep that sort of running straight, not with a downward front on it, but doesn't seem to be long enough down here, so this may be a bit of a jiggery pokery to make this look right down here. Right, let's see what damage we can do with it. Yes, we can work with that. We can bring that around now to line up with that. Happy days. Right, that's that bit stitched in. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. You see the bit of cut out with the old cut and butt there, and a bit of shape, bit more shaping I think needs to go on around this corner here to do something with this, but it's mostly out of sight to be fair. Super! One bubble arch. And now we've got the ring off. You can see on this side everything is penetrated very nicely, so I'm not worried about that weld at all. I've just got a flat disc now and just give it a run over to just get the spiky bits off of it and touch up any welds. If I can see any light through any welds, I'll touch those up, and then get a hammer and dolly to sort of start straightening up some of this. But all in all, that's gone on very nicely. Got a bit of finishing off to do down here to put a to put a crease on that and bring that up there, and bit of hammer and dolly work over here to fiddle with this. Right, okay, for this bit here, I think it's going to be easier if I zip cut across there and then put a piece in to suit and then tack it in place. I'll bolt the wing back to the car, tack this where it needs to be to suit this bottom bit here, and then fully weld it rather than trying to bend it over with hammer forming it over. I think it's going to be a bit too difficult to do that. So it'd be quicker and easier to cut it off and do that. Yeah, just like so, and then weld that bit in along there, sort of, and then work it out afterwards. So while I've got the wing off, it makes sense to trim this lip back here. So we get our Sharpie, put a line in around to suit. Tack that with a grinder. Right, now we've got it back on the car. You can see how much neater it looks now with the edge trimmed back better. So the next challenge is to get a bit of steel in there just to close that piece off there and put a bit of strength back in that bit there. So let's do that next. Right, I think I'll take this off to do the rest of the welding. Right, that's going to be easier. Lovely, that'll do us nicely from underneath there. Okay, the next challenge is to find out where all the porous welds are, or the holes are. All I'm going to simply do with that is take my phone, the lamp on, and go behind and see where I see the light coming through, and then mark off. Put the glasses on. Sharpie mark wherever I see daylight. One there, one there, one there. Yeah, so we'll found those out. We'll put some extra tacks on those now just to seal those off. bubble arch fitted. So quite pleased with how that's come out. That's gonna need, obviously gonna need filler to blend it in nicely, but it's just gonna be a small skimmer filler, as is always the case. So that's fitting there very nicely, and this bit on the front has come out all right as well, which I thought was going to be a bit of a nightmare. So pleased with that. So I'll chuck some Halfords on there just to keep it tidy for now, keep the flash rust off until we're ready for paint in a million years time. Righto, there's another one done. So that's one of our bubble arches fitted, and that's gone really well actually. I'm quite surprised at how well that gasless wire has worked. You've seen I've just been around to touch up some of the holes in it, and there wasn't nearly as many as I was expecting as well, so it's probably about the same as if I was using normal wire. So it would appear that the reason why the gasless wire works better is because there's actually very little wire in it. It's got the flux core in the middle with the wire around the edge, so that means you actually, instead of it being a 0.6 or 0.8, it's probably closer to a 0.4 or even less. So you need a lot less energy to go in. In fact, I got my weld is cranked right down to less than half of what I'd normally have it set at. So there's a lot less energy going in, which means less distortion and smaller little puddles. So it's great. Grinding off was easier. So I must say I'm quite impressed with that. So that's definitely something to adopt. So lessons learned from this episode for myself, and hopefully it can be useful to you guys, is fluxless, or flux cord rather, wire, less energy and less distortion. And if you do that with the cut and butt and then the cut and grind process, you get quite a nice finish. To be fair, I'm quite surprised by that. So thanks again for watching. Please keep watching, and if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. Our subscriber rate is going up nicely, which encourages YouTube to push the video out, which then snowballs and it all has a knock-on effect. So please do subscribe, and thanks again for watching.
Lights up, lights down. Happy days.
I got a dead fly on my camera.